You know, we've been talking a lot about what you've learned from going on the trips, and given the uncertainty that we've been facing this past year and we continue to still face, are there any lessons you've learned from having done SkillCorps that have helped you cope with the stress of the pandemic?
I think for me, the biggest thing, and it was actually what I wanted to be on the trip, the word that I chose was present. So I think if we're looking at the past or we're looking at the future, that's where that anxiety comes in. That's where that uncertainty, that's where all those, emotional responses kind of come in. But if we're present, I think all of that background noise kind of fades. And not saying that, the global pandemic is something that's not a priority or not significant, but we're still able to create change, to have these dialogues. Had it not been for the global pandemic, I don't think that Christina and I would have had the time to create Monday morning coffee. So I think that
Yes.
there's so much that has come from it. And being, honestly, my biggest advice is being present. What can you do now? Because unfortunately, we're not promised tomorrow. And whatever's in the past, you cannot change. So what can I do right now in this moment to be better and to do better?
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I think when you go on SkillCorps, you're so, again, out of your comfort zone, and you have to adjust to things that are out of your control. You're in such a different environment than you're used to, such a different setting that you need to adjust. And through this pandemic, we're all like, you took away that I can't go to a restaurant, I can't hang out with my friends. And I think also learning from experiences too. Like, I learned a lot of my friends, part of their identity is being social. Part of me, my coping skills on the weekend was being social with my friends, getting out of the house. And that was taken away from me. So I had to think of different things that I could use in my life to cope with what was going on, And I think also from my trip from SkillCorps is that everything serves a purpose in your life, right? So going on that trip and learning all those things, it served a purpose. And it served a purpose for other people that I was around. The friends that I made on that trip that are like two of my best friends now, and this pandemic served a purpose for us. Again, if this happened, I don't think we would have done Monday morning coffee or created it or created other things from it, And I think this pandemic, even though it's terrible and the things that have happened are just can be so horrible to think about sometimes, but there was a purpose in it. It was to be present. It was maybe to spend time more with your family in a little bubble or appreciate more of what's going on. I appreciate the time that I now have with my grandmother more. I appreciate being here and spending time with her. And just being appreciative too, like of our job, even through a pandemic, ABA still persevered. We still persevered and did telehealth, and we were still able to provide these services. I mean, when this started, we had no idea what was going to go on. I mean, even with GAP, for the fact that you guys are still persevering and keeping going and staying hopeful, I mean, this came out of the pandemic as well. So I think just learning from that too, like, okay, even though this is not what I hoped for in this year, and this is not what I hoped for in my future, it's still going to serve a purpose, and I can learn from this experience.
Yeah, and it might come up not right now, but maybe a year from now, right? Like that's sometimes what happens with SkillCorps too, right? Like something will happen in your life and you'll think about your trip and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. Like the dots are starting to connect.
Right.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.